smart question about the pace of Indonesia's expansion. But is oversupply the whole story? And how do long-term investors separate short-cycle noise from structural opportunity? This opening panel brings together capital allocators, policy voices, and also industry leaders to give a rigorous and honest answer. Welcome, our moderator is Ms. Tang, Commercial Director from Shanghai Metals Market. And I will also invite our group of panelists for this morning. The first is Mr. Ali Safdar, Managing Director and Partner, BCG. Please come forward. Next is Mr. Arif Perdana Kusumah, Chairman of Forum Industri Nickel Indonesia, or FINI. And next is Ms. Ditya Maharhani Harninda, Senior Vice President Corporate Banking to PT Bank Negara Indonesia, Tbk Persero. And now, Ms. Tang, the stage is yours.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So first of all, thanks for joining SMM 2026 Critical Mineral Conference. I'm Hicham, Commercial Director from SMM. It's my honor to be the moderator here today this morning. So as there are so many new regulations from the Indonesia government this year, the RCAP, the new HPN, and also the exports regulation. So today here we are glad to have Ditya from BNI and Arif from FINI and Arif from BCG. So actually my first question is for Arif. Yeah. So actually Arif, as FINI is a smelter association, so currently your smelter members actually are facing the severe ore supply gap estimated from 80 to 90 million in 2026. Have any FINI members already started shutting down lines or reducing their throughput? And what specific emergency measures have FINI proposed to the government beyond increasing RKAB quotas or any other methods? Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Very deep question like this. Of course, I would like to explain a little bit on the current what's happening on the ground actually. Because as you mentioned, 80 to 90 billion ore gap is become problematic for the industry at the moment. It's not a projection anymore, but already hitting the production at this stage. So, but if you look at the current situation on the ground, it's not permanent closure because of this situation of the or difficulty on the in the mining side. But actually the smelter operator is holding on at the moment because restarting the AF furnace is first very expensive. The second one take at least 2-3 months. The industry-wide for RKF, the utilization has dropped from 84% in Q4 2026-25 to 76% in year-to-date 2026, quite significant. The other things, several line of production in Southeast Sulawesi and Central Sulawesi is moved to what we call the idle hub. So basically, they reduce the production less than 50% capacity. They not stop because they trying to make the furnace keep warm. But for the ISPAL side, with the current situations, still not affected yet. Because why? Because most the ISPAL operation, they have longer term or contract. And but if you look at the ore requirement for ISPAL actually requires much more ore for 1 ton nickel than compared with the KF. So if the situation continue, I think ISPAL will be affected starting in Q3 or Q4 2026. So, based on the next question from you, Jen, what the proposal from FINI? So, our proposal actually is not asking the blanket quota for increase the tonnage of the ore for industry, because we don't want to back to our situation in 2024 where our oversupply is very high. There are three main things that we ask to the government, and our proposal first is dynamic RKAB release. So basically, RKAB have to link to the real need of the industry. The second one, the strategic ore reserve growth and condition. Because currently the government still hold the unused quota about 20 million tons from 2020-2023, and our proposal to the government to release it, but only to the smelter that connected to Industri park and also connected to downstream investment. The number three proposal to the government is to revise the current benchmark of the ore price. So FINI actually already submitted proposal to the government, come up with the alternative formula. So with the alternative formula, we hope that we can reflect the balanced economic between the upstream and downstream. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Arif. That's really impressive answer. Thank you very much again. And actually, my next question is for Ditya. And as BNI actually has been a key financial backbone for the Indonesia downstream and upstream nickel industry, so with current project portfolio around like rupiah 60 trillion. However, again, back to the RKAB quotas question has been slashed from 330 million tons to this year around only 250 million tons, so which already created an estimated ore gap of like around 80 to 90 million this year. So actually, as Arif also mentioned, currently there are many smelters actually are struggling to secure sufficient ore feeds. And as a state-owned banking committed to supporting national strategic programs, and how FINI actually is adjusting its credit risk assessment and loan canvas for existing nickel borrowers. And are you seeing actually increasing pressure on the loan repayments? And what mechanism do you have in place, for example, such as restructuring or it's like standby credit lines to prevent a cascade for the default across the sector? Thank you very much.
So, first of all, thank you, James, for having me. It's very pleased to be here. And also thank you for the question. The issue that we are facing right now, not just FINI, I suppose, but all banks in the region are facing certain things where the LKD cap basically impacting our portfolio. Well, we try to navigate those issues currently, and for your question, how do we adjust the credit risk assessment component? First of all, we do some sort of portfolio stress testing. So we stress tested all of our portfolio with regards to nickel downstreaming industry, where we do the stress test under scenario lower production that is impacted by the scarcity, nickel ore scarcity, and also lower ASP or average selling price. Other than that, we also do some sort of covenant tightening, where we usually require our clients to submit on a quarterly basis their feedstock, their financial cash flow, and also their covenant. But nowadays we require them on a monthly basis, their feedstock condition, and then we also require, usually we only ask them to have some sort of supply or agreement on a long-term basis with their supplier. But nowadays, we require our client to have a feedstock for 30 to 40 days just to mitigate the disruption. Other than that, we also require them to submit their feedstock condition, the cash flow, and then other than that, we also ask them to submit their smelter utilization rates, etc. The third one, we internally have our system, early warning system, that will detect emerging risks at early stage. So we can do a tailor-made solution that's suitable for their condition.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your answering. And actually, hi, Bali. Yeah, my next question is for you. As I understand, BCG advises many global resources companies and many institutional investors on the portfolio strategy. So given the current volatility, especially the RCAP and the new HPM and the DSI's new export regulation, so how would you advise major investors to reposition their nickel asset portfolio? And also, how could you advise those initial smelting assets, their hedging through the vertical integration or diversify geographically? And what risk-return framework do you recommend for long-term capital allocation in this unpredictable policy environment? Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I think the question that you have raised, to be honest, that's not unique to Indonesia. Yes, the specific, I guess, structural changes are Indonesia specific. But if you look at most of the other resource-heavy jurisdictions, there is a bit of a rebalancing going on between value capture in the country and global capital flows, right? And I think in Indonesia, especially in nickel, this has been accelerated, which to some extent also shows how successful the downstream agenda has been over the past 20 years. Right? Now, I think from an investment point of view, typically we always advise against the instinct to make one single big directional trade. Typically, I think especially in this context, we advise the investors to look at maybe 3 different distinct variables, which historically have been treated as one. One is core access, the processing margin, and the optionality that you have on the policy. Right? And typically, the investors who actually are now decoupling these 3 versus looking at them as one variable actually carry a little bit less risk. Right? Now, you mentioned 3 different options, right? One was vertical integration, there was diversification, geographically as well, right? And basically, what was the third one? So this vertical integration, there is
like diversified geographically, yes.
Look, I think between these 3 options, honestly, the answer is not going to be binary, right? Now, if you look at I guess it depends. For the investors who have assets which are low cost, well positioned in Indonesia, they still have the structural advantage. Because Indonesia still, and to a large extent in the future, will be still the most competitive nickel cost base, nickel base in the world. And that fundamentally is not going to change because of the policy shifts. Right? I think on geographical diversification, there was also mentioned in the keynote speech before. Countries like Philippines, New Caledonia, Australia, they can't substitute Indonesia. So geographical diversification can be about resilience, but it cannot be about substitution for the nickel supply of Indonesia. Right? I think lastly, the vertical integration, honestly, the way at least I would think about this is, it's not a hedging mechanism. It's more a strategic choice that the investor needs to take that where they want to play and where they have strengths, right? Whether it's about upstream or excess, can they make more money in the processing, in the midstream processing, or they want to capture value from the downstream, whether it's on the battery or the stainless steel side, right? The investors who actually try to do integration without having capabilities across the value chain, I think that's where it becomes slightly risky, right? So I think just to summarize the last point around what's the framework that we would recommend, I think it's actually very simple. Look at your assets against a set of variables, which is policy optionality, core access, and also your midstream processing margins, and see which of those assets actually have the resilience to survive across all of these different scenarios versus just picking one.
Okay, thank you very much, Ali. And my next question actually is to Ditya again. As you know, I understand FINI has made significant progress in the sustainable finance. So here we're going to talk about ESG as well. So like with a portfolio of rupiah 190 trillion in 2025, and also like with rupiah 72 trillion in green financing, which means I understand FINI also very care about the green ESG issues in Indonesia, as FINI also launched ESG advisory frameworks for the high-risk sector. So in terms of the HPAL hydrometallurgy and those RKEF hydrometallurgy facilities is heavily dependent on the coal-fired power and also the imported sulfur, so which carry a high carbon footprint. At the same time, as a state-owned banking, FINI also expected to support the government downstreaming industrialization agenda, regardless of the short-term profitability concerns. So, Ditya, how do you navigate this tension? On the one hand, growing pressure from the international leaders and regulators to phase out the high carbon financing. On the other side, the state mandate to keep capital flowing into strategic but emission heavy nickel projects? Are you developing sectors specifically like the decarbonization, milestones for nickel borrows, and BNI consider preferential green loan rates for projects that's committed to the renewable energy sector or those who can comply with the ESG issues?
Okay, thank you, Kate, for the question. I think I should finish the first question carefully. For the balancing over our bank as as a state-owned bank, we have the means to be a catalyst for economic growth and supporting a sector which is downstream industrialization while managing requirement of our global investors to manage the carbon emissions. And now it could be said it's our core mission, but the way our thinking, our framework is more like manage the transition instead of abrupt exit. So for our HPAL or our care clients who have relied on the power, the full power plant, we kind of provoke or influence them to have a less carbon emission by, for example, first of all, they need to have a framework or strategy towards decarbonization. Like, for example, they putting an FGD on their coal-fired power plant, or they have compensated with carbon trading, buying carbon trading. Or other than that, we also partnering with them. Well, actually, we have a U.S. division called ESG last year as a place. They were beyond only reporting monitoring, but they work closely with a consultant, and they have the mandate to work with our clients and make a framework towards a path towards a transition or decarbonization. That's why we always persuade our clients into decarbonization, because if they don't do it right now, in the future they will face a higher funding cost or probably even stricter covenants from banks or lenders. So yeah, I hope that answering your question. Is there any other question that I haven't asked?
Yeah, oh good. Yes, thanks for answering. Actually, yes, we can see those, insurance matters also trying to looking for solutions to lower their carbon emissions. For example, they're transitioning the coal power plants to renewables. As we can see, there more and more smelters or more and more investors comes to ask us like the opportunity to invest or like the opportunity to lower the low carbon emissions. For example, build the hydro, build the solar power plant. Yes, yes. And Arif, actually, I would like to invite you to add some comment here as a Smelter Association. What's your opinion on the ESG issues? I mean, like, there are a lot of RKEF smelters. They all rely on the coal power plants. What's your proposal or what's your opinion? Like how they can lower their carbon emission?
Well, actually the industry has a very big pressure from global at the moment because one is the industry has to implement renewable energy. The second one, the operation has to be very more responsible. One of the big topic for KF, especially about the usage of the coal. You can imagine in 2025, our nickel industry in Indonesia actually use around 153 million pounds of coal to run all power plant in the industrial park only. So in the same time, also the government already have a roadmap for the zero emission, which I think is very easy because the government put the target for zero emission in 2060. So as 2060, now we are in 2026, it's not too far away, and need to be some real action need to be done by the player and then also by the government. So there are several activity or several initiatives already done by the industry, nickel industry. Just example, they are using the EV truck in the operation of the industrial park. Example in area of industrial FINI, industrial image, they use a lot of EV truck at the moment. The solar panel is a lot of pilot project for solar panel to use for energy for this. But I think the ESG has become very critical for the industry. It's not only for the operation because this industry have to be first can be accepted by the community and also by environment. And again, Indonesia already made good progress, make a lot of activity already done, but still a lot of homework also need to be catch up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your additional comments, Arif. And hi, Ali. Yeah, actually, I also would like to invite you to give some comments on the ESG issues.
Sure, I think, and thank you, Ibu and Arif, for very insightful comments. I think also, if we look at the perspective of the off-takers, right, because ultimately, and I think my point is more for class and metal on the factory side, and I think to a certain extent, less on the CSA side. But if you look at basically, ultimately, the off-takers, the OEMs, which are, a lot of them actually are companies from the US and in EU specifically as well. I think they are also now a lot more, even beyond the different CBAM and other integrations, they're also actually a lot more, I guess, pushy in terms of making sure that the nickel which is going into their value chains, and ultimately, for example, if I'm Ford, the nickel which is going into batteries in my car actually has the right person to. So I think the importance of ESG in nickel is becoming more and more. And very soon it's going to become a right to play versus just, I guess, a nice thing to have for the nickel miners, right? And I know that it's beyond the coal-fired power plants. There are other challenges that the industry needs to look into in terms of tailings, in terms of preventing sulfur as well. So I think it's going to be a journey, but the need will be there from the off-takers and industries.
Okay, thank you very much. And actually, my last question is to all of the panelists. My last question is regarding the downstreaming strategy. As we can see, so Indonesia as a country which owns the abundant resources for nickel, bauxite, tin, coal as well. And now, as the government already made the relative announcement, that's the downstreaming strategy plan So first, I would like to invite Ditya to share some of your insight in terms of the downstreaming strategy and how do you think the relatively loan for those downstreaming projects?
Like I always said, I mean, we have many assignment from government to become for industrialization, downstream industrialization is only as such that. So we have full support on that, but as you know that we are in banking industry is one of the most regulated industry in the world. So we need to comply with a few factors and a few KPI. We will collectively choose clients for our portfolio who, first of all, have an upstream business so that they will be impacted by the fit disruption. And secondly, if they don't have any upstream business, we will enforce them to have a long-term agreement with the supplier. And then, other than that, we also enforce them in the covenant to have a path towards decarbonization or energy transition. So, the bottom line, we will always support government's objective to have a higher pace economic growth, but we will choose collectively our clients so that we will be impacted by that learned phrase or something like that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And hello, Arif. As a Smelter Association, there are so many So what's your proposal? What's your suggestions for the Indonesia smelters go downstreaming? Thank you very much.
Okay. First, I would like to explain and describe the current situation of the nickel industry in Indonesia. As you know, we go to the pressure to the industry is very high. We have two pressure. First, come from the geopolitical situation, the current Middle East situation, Hormuz Strait closure, and other war situation in the world. The current geopolitical situations has changed the economic for the industry, especially for cost structure. As you know, several months ago, the energy costs increased very significantly, not only in fuel but also coal, and those energy costs increased quite significantly. The other thing is the price of sulfur, because we use sulfur very big here in Indonesia. In 2025, was about 5.3 million tons sulfur come from Middle East, and they are used mostly for the small industry in Indonesia. But in other hand, also we have a very serious pressure from domestic sector. As you know, a lot of new fiscal policy coming up and then impact the industry of nickel in Indonesia. Last year, April last year, I still remember our royalty rate increased very significant, and change the scheme from the stick royalty become progressive royalty. And also, the government decided to cut the production for the nickel ore by the end of the 2025. The last one, the revision of the benchmark price. All combination between the geopolitical tension and the implication on the domestic sectors make the industry of nickel in Indonesia quite difficult at the moment. So our proposal and suggestion to government should not focus on the short-term fiscal policy. We should focus on the strategy of industrialization and downstream industry, especially for nickel in Indonesia, because this is actually the major agenda for development economic of Indonesia.
Yes, oh, thank you. Thank you, Arif. So, per your proposal, you think as there's so many regulation and also those local smelters also suffering the high pricing of sulfur, especially is highly dependent of importing the sulfur from the Middle East issues. So, yeah, just like, your proposal is just to keep the current situation. And based on that, so for Abadi, what's your comments here in terms of the downstreaming strategy plan in Indonesia?
I think downstreaming actually for any country, and I think including Indonesia, is definitely one of the ways for the country to capture more value, whether it's in terms of GDP, in terms of job creation. And I think nickel, to be honest, has been a pretty good success story for Indonesia in terms of, if you compare the industry 10 years ago versus now, the level of downstreaming is quite good, right? I think on in your question, you also mentioned other commodities like bauxite. I think that's more of a nascent journey for Indonesia, right? Because Japan, now we are moving towards alumina and aluminum smelters in the country, right? So I think downstreaming as a philosophy, as a strategy, is the right thing to do for a country. I think to the point also from the fellow panelists, I think the only thing is there needs to be a balance between the making sure that the market is structured in a way that actually it is a win-win situation for the investors, for the operators, and actually also for everyone in that ecosystem. Because I think, just maybe the last comment from my side, the examples where we have seen downstreaming not being very successful in the other countries, I think one of the pitfalls there is that the whole ecosystem does not work, meaning that there are pockets which the profitability where just the inherent advantage is a lot more in the value chain versus others. And then you would always have breaks in the value chain. You would have more capacity, more players working on the, for example, upstream side or on the downstream. So I think kind of balancing that overall ecosystem as part of the downstreaming strategy and kind of philosophy, I think will be important.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's all the questions from my side for all panelists. And my next session may be, if there are any questions from the audience? Okay, so
morning. I guess my first question was about in regards to complying with environmental regulations and policies and increasing focus on industry. Do do you have a view as to what the impact on cost is per tonne of the processed or tonne of metal produced in complying with those things going forward?
Well, because in Indonesia we have two technologies. First, the current technology and the environmental regulation and compliance with technology. I think regarding the FAM or environmental technology, the biggest thing is the carbon emission. So Indonesia already have quite strict regulation on carbon emission, and then everybody have to comply with it. And the difference with the hydrometallurgy, part of the biggest issue for the hydrometallurgy operation in Indonesia is how to manage the tariff. Because Indonesia government only allow the industry to address that tariff procedure. In the past, some people or some company tried to ask the government to have the permission to put the tariff into then tariff application, and also several companies thinking of the deep tech. I think those two applications will not be allowed by the government because but the drug study also have a lot of challenges in Indonesia, especially for the land space. Currently, we as an association already have a lot of discussion on that one, because you can imagine in year 2000, currently the installed production in Indonesia around 600,000, but in 2028 can be reached up to 1 million ton nickel in HP. So 1 ton nickel in hydrometallurgy need around 150 up to 160 ton. So then you can imagine how difficulty in managing the handling in this power operation. So a lot of discussion on that one. Hopefully there will be some new regulation coming up regarding how we can manage this handling management more better and proper. Because I think in next 2 or 3 years from now, many industrial parks will face difficulty on how to manage handling, because the land spaces will not be enough to accommodate people. So the price is, I think, currently, because in Indonesia all the ISPA operation use the dry stack, so this is the major component of the environmental cost in Indonesia.
Thank you. I have a second question.
Tinggal satu lagi pertanyaan. Duduk aja di sini. Tadi ruangan. Gol dong.
Indonesia
Iya.
achieve a premium
Iya, ada minta 3.
or
Datang.
greener nickel. So I know when I spoke to one of the major miners in the last
Sorry.
green energy.
I think that's actually a fair point because some of that premium is not really reflected in at least from my knowledge some of the transactions that happen here. Right? But I think it's also a function of which product that we're talking about. Because I think for MSP as an example, really you would actually get that premium. But I think this starts becoming more and more important for folks who are thinking about integration. So for example, from Mate or MSP to PCAM, CAM. I think at that actually there is, maybe there are 2 points there. You might not get the premium, but for you to be able to secure offtake with the right, I guess, buyers from the European market as an example, they need to look into that one. And I think maybe just one last point on this one is, I know carbon footprint is actually quite important. The challenge also is availability of other power sources, because frankly, not a lot of the aspects can have hydropower. There are some, and they are actually quite less in terms of the cost structure as well. I think it's maybe to summarize, I think the premium would not be there yet. It's more actually for the future for you to be able to secure offtake.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe any question from others? Oh, yes, please.
Thank you for actually I'm not about to ask anything, just finish because looking for the coffee now. But I believe that the demand for nickel is still going high for the long term. So my suggestion is, in long-term solution, especially for the lady from GNI, Reykjavik, Iceland, very long way from Indonesia, from Australia. But because they have geothermal power, they bring alumina from southern West Australia, right away from South Malacca, Lautan Hindia, goes up, they can still make money by utilizing the geothermal. In Indonesia, we have a lot of geothermal. So instead of bringing energy into the mine site, why not reverse it? Bring the ore, nickel ore, to where the geothermal located. But this is for long term. Yeah. The second one is, might be the government of Indonesia ratio from the annually production into the research becomes smaller and smaller. So they are a bit worried about that. So in a very short time, we will be no more nickel research. So in order to fulfill the government, what they feel more about this is that from Korea, about 20 years ago, they had forest. Forest is kind of a organization, government organization, funded by the Korean government, helping Indonesia to do the exploration. I hope you understand. So it's the government, Korean government, funded by the government, they allocate some money, come to Indonesia, hey, the Indonesian government, can I help you to do the exploration with our budget? We will use your geologies, yeah? So then we find some of the iron ore at that time. Japan, they consume a lot of coal, yeah? They have J coal, yeah? They even deployed some of their retired professors from the School of Mines in Japan, come to Indonesia with the money, doing the exploration. Yeah? So why don't China do that? If you still need our nickel, help us to do the exploration. So the ratio between the annual production into the reserve even might be bigger. Even might be bigger. Yeah? But this is for the long term. Yeah? You're facing, like the first one, you're facing carbon pressure. Utilize our hydrothermal. We are the biggest hydrothermal countries in the world after New Zealand. Reykjavik, very small. I think it's 10 countries. Yeah? We are the biggest, but we don't utilize it yet. Yeah? But this is for a long time. In particular, for the state-owned company, they have to go for this. Yeah? And the second one is the exploration. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have a nickel sulfide here in this country? We only rely on the laterite. Yeah, where in Canada they have sulfide. They go down underground methods to mining it. Yeah, we haven't done anything about this. Yeah. The third one is this. Back 20 years ago, the Chingsans only accept 2.1% nickel. Yeah, but nowadays it's gone. Even 1.2 they can accept. And where is the 1.6, 1.7 during that time? They put it and just push it into the valley. So my question is there any RF technology that can consume 1.8, 1.6, but still make money? But of course, less electric cost by utilizing more geothermal. Thank you very much for listening to me, an old guy from the mining industry. Thank you. If you have any response for this?
Yeah, maybe I just respond regarding the opportunity about So, yeah, Papa, correct. Regarding the grade of nickel, for the grade of the smelter, increased very significantly. So I remember when the downstream industry started in Indonesia in 2017, 2018, our output still can be maintained in between 1.8 up to 2%. But increased very significantly around 2020, the average rate become only 1.6. Even last year, if you look at the data, we made an average for the output to NKR. The average is around 1.5. So basically, in other hand, the industry or the facility also have the conservation because they can if the lower grade. The other thing, about the technology also has very significant resources before 2021, we still don't have this sort of technology in Indonesia. So, Mahony is the waste rock and was categorized as the waste material. We did not use that material for a very long time. But after the ISPAL technology implemented in Indonesia, starting in 2021, the laminate layer can be processed. Even we can produce now the nickel product with the battery grade. The additional reserve or resource because the technology is very significant. Manipulation in Indonesia at around 2 billion tons of ore from human inside the time. So maybe can be increased. Again, in terms of exploration, if power, we should put more effort in exploration because we still think that Indonesia should have sulfide nickel somewhere, but we haven't found it. Thank you.
So thank you, Barry. Considering the time is a minute, so we will close this panel. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your attention. Thank you very much.